Hey there, horror movie tea sippers.
The following podcast will contain spoilers for the movie we are about to review. If you have not seen the movie and do not wish to have anything ruined prematurely, then please do not continue to listen until after you have seen the movie.
And welcome to the Horror Movie Tea podcast. This week, for Shark Month, we are covering 47 Meters Down Uncaged. Yay! But before we jump into the synopsis, let's go ahead and share what tea we're drinking.
Which one you got this time?
I have the half and half, the half sweet tea, half lemonade from Chick-fil-A, because I needed some junk food today.
That does sound delicious. For my tea, I am actually supporting local. There is a local bee company, like right on the edge of our city and the next one over, that we get honey from. They also have some other products like chapstick, beeswax, bee pollen, things like that. But they also have their own blends of tea. And this one is their island tea blend, and it is amazing.
Ooh, do you know what's in it?
I would have to go get the jar.
Oh.
I don't remember exactly. There's some kind of like fruit, it's some kind of tropical-esque fruit and black tea. I know it's black tea. But it smells so fruity and tropical, and it goes perfectly with their honey.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yes. Eventually I'll post a link to their company, their Facebook page, on ours. Because they are amazing, and I love their stuff.
Do you know if they ship their products, or you have to go to their local store?
They sell their stuff every now and then at like farmers markets and things like that. I know I've seen their honey at the farmers market in Plano. I'm not sure if they ship too far. They might locally, but I will ask.
Yeah, because that would be a bummer for if we make people that are outside of Texas or outside of the Dallas area get all excited about this tea. No. And you're like, here's the link! And then they click on it and they're like, no! You crushed their dreams.
Might be a little worth it though. It's amazing. It's worth the drive, people. It's worth the drive. Come visit us.
Hey, maybe they can be our first sponsor.
Sponsor me.
Sponsor me. I'm your number one customer. Anyways, so quick rundown of this movie. This family moves to Mexico, and it's two stepsisters, and then the stepmom, and then the father. And I won't go too deep into the drama with them, because honestly it's not important to the story, really. It's just for character development. But the two sisters meet up with two friends, and they go to the dad is an archaeologist. They're digging in a cave.
Yeah, they discovered a Mayan cave system, mostly underwater.
Yes. And so the two sisters and the friends want to explore one of the caves. And so they go into the caves, even after talking about it and being like, this is dangerous. And of course the friends are like, it'll be fine. We're
not going far, just the first cave. We're not going too deep in the ruins.
Yeah. So they go in there, and they knock over a pillar, find out there's a shark. They freak out. Lots of blood. And, well, I guess not that much. Well, depends on what scene.
I feel like not as much as there should have been.
Yeah, agreed. They meet up with the father Father's like, we need to get you guys out of here. They freak out, and...
Deep blue sea moment.
Yes, deep blue sea moment. The girls are on their own now.
Don't get too attached to the dad, guys.
Yeah. And you know it's fucking coming, too. Because it's like, they're building it up. It's all... Yeah. And then...
Keep them calm, this is fine. This is perfectly fine. Yeah, it's scary, but we're gonna be alright. We're just gonna do this. We're not gonna panic. It's all gonna be okay. I'm gonna get you guys out of here. Shark.
Yep. And then the two friends die. Well, yeah, two friends die. And then, well, technically the first friend died before the father. Then the father dies. And then second friend dies. And then the two sisters make it, only to be in the middle of a feeding frenzy because of this tourist boat chummed the water. And they get to have a nice little battle with a couple of great whites, and then they make it through, and that's the movie. Ta-da! So, what would you rate this movie?
I mean, it was fairly entertaining, but personally, I think I actually kind of like the first one better. If that one was, I believe I said it was like between a 5 and a 6, closer to a 6. This one was definitely closer to a 5. Like, I feel like it was very, very unrealistic. Worse than the last one. On the realism scale, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But also, I feel like, honestly, it felt like they were trying too hard. Really.
Up the ante.
Yeah. I get you want to keep people coming back for more of these, and there was a lot of hype for the last one. There's probably going to be a lot more hype for this one. You want to make sure that, people enjoy themselves and you draw a big crowd and all, but you tried a little too hard. Pick a lane.
It wasn't too bad until the very end, where all of the great whites are like trying to attack them and they're fighting them. That was definitely over the top.
I mean, I could have done without the current being an issue. I could have done without them trying to struggle up the cliff area when they could have easily just taken off the vest and had it right next to them and gotten through it with no problem whatsoever and no drama. But okay. Then for them to get out of that area only to be in the exact area that they were doing the Great White feeding tour kind of thing that they were supposed to be on.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's more of a karma thing, like you should have gone on the boat instead of,
don't go on
disobeying your parents and going to some place you shouldn't have gone and all, but at the same time, like, was that really necessary?
Yeah, like, this movie has a lot of parallels between the first one, because it's like, both movies start off in a pool, and then both movies, they were doing something that they knew was dangerous, but they decided to go with it anyways. And they went through with it because the main character was peer pressured into it.
And then they think they escape. And no. You haven't quite escaped yet.
Yeah, that's right. They did do that in the first movie too, because that was the hallucination thing.
Yeah. They both had a funny shark scene, though, with a red light.
Yeah.
Oh.
This one wasn't quite as funny.
It wasn't, but it reminded me a lot of the first movie. That one was a lot funnier, that one scene.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, well, I think it's like all 3 sharks at once were like, ah. Well, like this one is just only 2.
Yeah.
And they were a lot closer to them.
Yeah, they were.
So it was more like, more than I don't know. Yeah. Am I wording anymore? I don't know. How do you word?
we've been in this quarantine too long. This is fine.
Uh,
But I do feel like they were definitely trying too hard. So I give it about a 5. It was alright. It was entertaining, but CGI was worse than the first one. And
yeah.
they were just trying too hard.
Yeah. I have to agree and say I would give it a 5 as well. For some reason, I think it's probably the caves and how they show the sharks. But this movie makes me feel a lot more intense. Mm-hmm. And it's not quite as funny to me. Like the first movie, like we said in the last episode, it has fond memories. And we keep like laughing every time we watch it. But this movie, it's either I feel creeped out or I know what is currently happening is super stupid. And I'm just like, ugh.
Use your words.
Just, it's like all of the over the top scenes. Just, like, I understand upping the ante, because that's what you want to do in a sequel. But, well,
I feel like they upped the ante by being in a cave system, though.
Yeah, they didn't need to add...
Need to do that much more.
Yeah. Well, and then, okay. First problem with this movie is they say that the sharks that are blind are great white sharks. But I made the point to Jess during the movie that if these sharks were blind, that means that they evolved to become a different species. They wouldn't be great white sharks anymore. They may have evolved from great white sharks, but they're just a branch in a tree that has many different paths.
I agree. They would have been a different species, technically. They likely evolved from the great whites, but they're not the same kind of shark.
Yeah. It's just, for instance, like birds are the descendants of dinosaurs, but we don't call them a Tyrannosaurus or a Velociraptor. Is like it's
or a dodo even.
Yeah.
Call them a dodo.
Yeah. It's like yeah.
Yeah. No, they definitely got a lot wrong, and they wouldn't have looked quite the same either. I feel like they would have been. At least in that area, they would have been smaller. Because a lot of the areas they wouldn't have been able to swim in.
Yeah, and then the fact that the food was the food sources were limited. Though we did find that in cave systems, fish tend to have lower metabolisms and don't need as much food, but that would still go with the whole size thing. It would make sense to be, that they would evolve to be smaller in order to not have to worry about eating as often.
Well, it's also a maneuverability thing.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if they had gotten trapped in there, it takes a while to evolve.
Yeah.
So how did they not die out completely?
Especially since...
By that point.
Yeah. I mean, they only show 2, and for there to be some sort of evolution, there had to have been more. Yes. And maybe they were in different cave systems that hadn't been discovered yet. But either way, so in the beginning of the movie...
There's a lot of holes.
Yeah. In the beginning...
The evolution of these things.
In the beginning of the movie, Grant, the father, had pulled out a shark tooth, and the daughter's like, "Is that a great white tooth?" And it had been fossilized, and he made the comment that it was a couple hundred years old. And so I think they were trying to imply that that's when the shark, or a shark or several sharks, got trapped in there and started evolving. But that's not how evolution works. It takes...
How any of this works.
It takes more than a couple hundred years to have that drastic of a change where the animal is blind. And I know you said that it's probably environmental factors that affect the color, at least to an extent. So that could explain why the cave sharks didn't really have any color. But the blindness definitely wouldn't have happened yet.
Oh, yeah. They probably would have been very, very sensitive to light, but I doubt they would have been completely blind at that point.
Yeah.
Their other senses definitely would have been heightened. So I definitely understand, like, the sound and the vibrations, them being able to pick up on those a lot easier, but they're not going to be completely blind by that point. So I know it's also a smaller point, but the Mexican tetra that they show all of twice in the movie, that I guess they're trying to hint that that was their main food source for the sharks for a while there, they don't get that big.
Yeah.
They get up to a maximum of 12 centimeters, which is 4.7 inches. So, no, we saw 2 that entire time. There would have had to have been hundreds of these things all over to sustain even 2 sharks.
Yeah.
Let alone multiple others, which, unless we're getting massive inbreeding and all, which I guess could also kind of explain the blindness in the sharks as just a defect.
I mean, I gotta agree with you there.
I mean, but I feel like their growth would have been stunted as well, but okay. Like, there's no way that this
they would have had buck teeth
the way they said. Okay, now. I mean, they have rows upon rows of teeth anyway. I'm sure a few of them are kind of buck teeth anyway. But there's a lot of holes in what they're suggesting happened. And it doesn't make sense. Another thing that does not make sense is the girl toward the beginning, when she freaks out because of the tetra, she runs into a pillar that is like 3 times her size, just in width. And we're expected to believe that she knocks it over, which causes a chain reaction that causes kind of a cave-in a little bit. I'm calling bull. A little bit.
Yeah.
Calling bull.
Well, and then the thing that pisses me off is they specifically called it 47 meters uncaged. Well, you never know how freaking deep they go.
True. Very good point. We have no reference the entire movie of how deep they are.
But it's like in the first movie, they made it such an obvious point. It's like, look, they're 47 meters.
Well, and they told us that they have to go a few meters up to even get a signal to the boat. So they made it a big thing and kept referencing it, and they kept looking at that gauge when they would go up a little bit and then when they'd go back down. So it was a big thing, but don't call it 47 meters uncaged if you never tell us the depth.
Yeah. It's like, it might as well have been a different movie.
Yeah. For all we know, you're 5 meters down.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, and like I understand movie wants to movie, but...
And they want to build off the name.
I hate when you can just poke holes into things so easily. It's just... All they had to do was just an itty bitty bit of research. And they would...
Like, at least 2 gauges on your equipment. Just glance at it.
Well, and like the sharks specifically, on how they're like, oh, they've evolved, but they're great white sharks. It just...
It's hard to enjoy a movie when you see all these holes and things that right off the bat you're like, well, that's not how that works. That's not how this works at all.
And I hate the human stupidity in this movie. Like, in the first movie, they did do stupid things. That's how they set up the plot. But once they were in that situation, they didn't do anything too stupid. But in this movie, all they had to do was lean up against the cave walls to try and not, like, kick or sound distress to keep away from the sharks. and then go calmly one up at a time. Because the sharks were lower. They weren't going, like, too far close to the surface.
That's right. You're talking about when they're in this opening area.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. But no, fucking blonde chick had to freak out and try and climb it. And she almost made it up. And then some freak rock was like, nope. And so she fell back.
Unsteady area, which is why the thing wasn't very secure to begin with. Which there's not much around for them to secure the line to, so I get it. Like, one at a time. But they were fine.
Yeah, if they would have done one at a time, they all would have been able to make it safely.
Yeah.
And swam very calmly and not thrashed around too much. Been just, like, super chill and just kept their bodies as close to the surface as possible. Because...
And if you hold on to the rocks, you don't have to tread water to keep yourself up.
Yeah.
So you're minimizing your movement and all, which means that they're going to leave you alone because they don't know you're there. If they're blind,
yeah,
then they don't really sense your movements and things like that. That's going to make you a far smaller target. Mm-hmm. They might still sense, like, you know, the
heartbeat and
electromagnetic
impulses
field and everything around you, because we do emit a small field around us that they can kind of sense, just like they do with other small fish and things. But if you're not, like, flailing and all, you're a far smaller target.
And if you focus on your breath and keeping calm, that will definitely help a lot too.
Yeah.
But
they had to be a panicky bitch and jump on the line.
Yeah.
Which, if I was the friend that she jumped on, even if we both had gotten out of the situation, I would be pissed. Because she was basically choosing her own life over everyone else's, regardless of whether or not it was safe. And, like, she almost made it up there, but she would have screwed everyone else in doing so.
Yep.
So, rude, but also horrible friend.
Yeah.
Though, to be fair, she was also kind of the stupid one that kept trying to talk them into doing things they shouldn't do. So, you know.
Yep.
Yeah. So, realism.
Oh, God. 0.
I give it maybe a 2.
This one, I think it's a solid 1. But go ahead and explain your reasoning for the 2.
Yeah. The 2 is mostly the reactions, and I can see kind of the peer pressure thing happening.
Yeah.
She seemed pretty easily swayed, and she had no friends in that area. She wanted so desperately to have someone that, you know, she went along with it.
Yeah.
Thinking, okay, maybe I can get in with them and maybe life won't suck so hard.
Yeah.
Where I'm at. And then the panicked reactions, I mean, they're all fairly inexperienced with the equipment and everything. She sounded like she was one of the only ones that had extensive diving experience.
Yeah.
So, I mean, them panicking and using up a lot of their air, I mean, I can see that. And they didn't seem all that bright, so, you know, not staying close to the ground or the wall where it's going to be more difficult for the shark to get you. Yeah, sure. Understandable. But, and I can also kind of see that one chick panicking so bad and wanting to get up the line, even at the expense of everyone else. It sucks. And she's a horrible person for it. And stupid. But I could see it happening. So that's really it. Everything else is completely inaccurate. Again, with the helmet that had nothing by the ear. I didn't even see a mic this time inside the helmet.
Yeah, I don't know. I need to know how they filmed this movie and how the fuck they knew, like, their lines.
We need to actually, like, get the DVD or Blu-ray just for the bonus features. We have questions.
We need to know.
We have questions that need answering. But that's really the only reason I give it a 2, is mostly the reactions and certain scenarios that I can't see happening.
Yeah. But I definitely agree with your reasoning. But in my mind, everything was just a pile of shit. That unrealistic shit.
Entertaining. It was a somewhat entertaining pile of shit.
that I can't forgive it, and it gets a 1. It will. I'm so spiteful of this movie.
You really are. Well, usually I'm the spiteful one.
Because I feel like it could have been. I really at first kind of got the vibe of it's kind of like The Descent. Mm-hmm.
And it could have been.
That would have been really so creepy.
Could have been great. But there are just so many holes. Just so much wrong.
Yeah, that...
You know what would have been even scarier? Is if the sharks were smaller, but there were more of them, and they kind of schooled, almost like piranha. If they were also cannibalistic, if they ran low on a food source, that would make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And that goes with, they've shown that sharks can be cannibalistic, so it wouldn't stretch the realm of realism at all.
Fish in general tend to be cannibals.
This is true.
Like, it's not unheard of at all. So, that would have made a lot of sense, honestly.
Yeah.
And I feel like it would have been a lot scarier to see a whole bunch of them coming at you all at once. That's a lot of teeth.
What size do you think they should have been, like 5 feet or 10 feet? I'm thinking maybe 10 feet.
10 foot absolute max.
Because it's like...
But they should have been a little bit sleeker, too.
Yeah, not big chunky Bruces.
Yeah. Not chunky Bruce boys.
But yeah, it's like, that way 10 feet... I mean... A 10-foot anything is pretty intimidating. So a 10-foot shark...
I am small. A 6-foot shark would be intimidating. For reference, I'm 5'3". I'm small.
Yeah, but I'm also thinking about eating wise too. But I guess if there's like multiple, then yeah, okay, never mind.
But we didn't make the movie. They didn't consult us. So, this is fine. Make your crappy movies. We'll just keep reviewing them. With our tea. In judgment.
Oh, the judgment.
No movie is safe.
Well...
You want to add anything else?
Not that I can think of. Like, this movie... Like, at least 47 Meters Down, it did what it came out to do. It was a movie, and yes, it's silly, but it is entertaining nonetheless, and it kept focus. But this movie, it just added so many different elements, and they just had to make everything bigger and everything so much more dramatic when they could have kept it super simple and didn't even have to connect it to the original movie.
No, it would have been better with a different title.
Yeah.
I feel like we were judging it also because we had seen the first one, and we knew it was supposed to be a sequel, that it just... Again, don't call a movie 47 Meters Down Uncaged if you never reference the depth. Ever.
Yeah, because it's like movie trailers do it all the time where they're like, the director that brought you this movie. It's like, so you can still hype up the audience if it's under a different name, and it makes you judge the movie less if you don't think it's connected to anything.
Yeah.
But
from the makers of this movie, or the producers of this movie,
yeah,
would have been fine.
Yeah, like this movie had the potential of being really interesting, very creepy, and very intense. And yes, it had a few moments like that, but it just, all of the over the top moments and plot holes just,
and jump scares.
Yeah, kind
that
of.
we can mostly see coming.
Yeah, and I feel like pretty much all of the scares were jump scares.
There were a couple that kind of creep you out, like when you see them in the background.
Yeah.
Just swimming near them, or like right by them, like toward the beginning. One swims right by one of the girls.
Yeah, that scene. Yeah, that scene always creeps me out. Or then, yeah, like you mentioned, the sharks slowly swimming behind them. But that, yeah.
But otherwise, it was mostly jump scares. So, do better.
Yep.
That's all we ask. Do better.
I know. It's like, this is supposed to be like one of the cream of the crop shark movies. There really aren't that great of shark movies, I will admit.
Yeah. A lot of them are more action than horror or thriller. Yeah. But it's all going to be fine because we've got one more week of Shark Month.
And I'm so excited.
And that one, we saved one of our favorites for that one.
Yes.
So you're going to have to join us next time for that one so we can finish off our Shark Month. And let us know what other movies you want us to do. We have a couple that have been suggested that we're going to do immediately after Shark Month is over. But we are always, always, always looking for more suggestions.
Yes.
So drop us a line. Let us know, guys.
Please.
And y'all stay safe and stay spoopy.
Bye.